Part of the reason it took me so long to finish up my last review was because I picked up Satisfactory during the Steam sale. Satisfactory is a first-person 3D exploration and factory simulation game. You're dropped on a planet, you scan for resources, and you slowly start collecting, constructing, and automating to complete goals, unlock more tools, vehicles, buildings, machines, upgrades, etc, etc, etc. The game is constantly evolving and giving you new tools to play around with to complete your goals. Satisfactory is being developed by Coffee Stain Studios, who are probably best known for their hit title Goat Simulator. Yeah, of all the games to come from them next, I did not expect a factory building sim. But the question is, how's the game shaping up so far? Is it something to pick up now, keep watching as it grows, or skip for your more traditional factory building sims like Factorio? Satisfactory currently only supports the keyboard and mouse, but the controls are relatively simple. You move with WASD, spacebar jumps, shift sprints, and C is your crouch. Various keys will let you access, build, and deconstruct menus, and you can set hotkeys as well. But overall, the movement feels fantastic. If you're on flat ground or a downward slope, crouching while running lets you slide, which gives you a short burst of speed and letting you slide underneath things like conveyor belts. You can even jump while sliding to get a bit higher and go a bit further. A factory simulation game does not need movement that feels this great, but Satisfactory does. But back to the main meat of the game. As an employee of Fix-It, it's up to you to make sure those natural resources on alien planets are being put to good use. You've got to mine and acquire materials, smelt them into bars, turn them into parts, and put parts together to make complex machinery and blast them into space for the glory of your corporate overlords. The best way to do this is through automation by building factories and creating conveyor belt spaghetti all over the place. But factories take materials and power, which you'll have to generate yourself and keep stable. While the world is initially barren and hard to explore at first, eventually you'll set up jump pads, hypertubes, vehicle stations, and even trains to zip around between factories and resources. One thing Satisfactory has over its 2D counterparts is the fact that the world feels a lot bigger with an extra dimension now, and Coffee Stain Studios really put it to good use. There are massive cliffs, chasms, caves, and plateaus to explore and build on. Your factory isn't just a flat, square building somewhere. You'll have to twist and turn conveyors around the landscape and use lifts to transport materials down cliffs or up to higher platforms. There's a lot of depth here when it comes to figuring out where to build certain objects, and while you can build foundations to put machinery and buildings on, they aren't free, so you'll have to use the land you're given whenever you can. Being an alien planet, there's a ton of uncharted, strange places to explore. Exploration is a huge part of Satisfactory, and you'll get some new tools that let you access new areas, like mining sulfur to make bombs that blow up boulders that block resources, gas masks to grab loot in poisonous areas, jetpacks to fly up cliffs or over gaps. Because you'll often be building and automating your tasks, exploration gives you something to do while waiting for materials to be generated or things to unlock. The game never really has a dull moment where you just go AFK and wait for something to finish, because there's always stuff to find in the world or secrets to uncover. Typically, these secrets come in the form of different types of power slugs, which let you overclock your machines. But early on, most of the extra resources you'll need later you'll have to find by going on huge expeditions, finding new metals and alien resources, Fix-It crash sites with hard drives of alternate crafting recipes, monster dens, and some fantastic looking areas to build in. The monsters and terrain are no joke, but you can develop and create new weapons and methods of transportation to let you explore more easily or access new areas. Even your inventory size can be constantly upgraded, usually with things found from exploring or as rewards for certain tasks. The game has a really solid sense of progression, and eventually monsters and obstacles will go from real threats to easily surpassed hurdles. It feels super fun being able to travel around the map with ease and not being worried about any creatures the game can throw your way. Exploration isn't just rewarding, it's fun and breaks up the slower pace of building and optimization. However, most of your time will be spent working on production lines and producing enough materials to build more buildings, conveyors, and materials required for completing tasks and progressing to unlock more stuff. Part of what makes Satisfactory so fun, in my opinion, is just how much control you have over all the moving parts of your factory. I'm not just talking about changing colors, you can over and underclock machines individually. If you don't want to plan out too much in advance, you can watch where problems occur and resolve them by just tinkering with the system or building more production lines. Satisfactory doesn't have any wrong answers, and you're free to experiment and solve tasks in different ways. Maybe you don't have a lot of space and you want to overclock your machine so that it can produce things at double the rate, saving you space but costing you more power. Or maybe you're not producing enough materials for a machine that takes up a lot of juice. You can make it perform slower to use less power to match your situation. And because you can remove buildings and get your materials back, the game really encourages you to keep trying new setups and change things often if something doesn't work as well as you want it to. You lose nothing for experimentation, which makes it super fun to just throw down new production lines and see what's working and what isn't. Building isn't this long, draining process of making sure you get it right the first time. Satisfactory lets you throw something down and gives you all the information you need to see where problems might be occurring. And even then, being completely efficient isn't required. You can just journey out and find more resources to set up more production lines. You can even use hard drives you find in fix-it crash sites to unlock alternate crafting recipes for parts, completely changing how you tackle a problem and perhaps better using some of your resources. I think it appeals to a lot more people this way. While I had fun spending hours plotting positions of machines and checking to make sure numbers matched up, you really can just throw something down and change it freely later, or venture out to find more resources and build more lines. Or you can even use an alternate crafting recipe and try to find the most efficient way to craft a certain object. You even have a choice of multiple worlds, each with their own allocation of resources and different areas to build. More difficult worlds will give you less to work with and can be a fun challenge, but the beginning areas give you plenty of time to get familiar with the game, play around with its tools, and figure out what works and what doesn't. In the end, there's a ton of fun to be had no matter what world you're on or what resources you're working with. You can play Satisfactory the way you want, either in a very serious, methodical way or just casually by yourself or with friends, using resources to build fun jump pad courses, crazy long hypertubes, running each other over with trucks. The game provides just enough of a sandbox to let you find your own fun in between each task. The multiplayer, while far from perfect, works well enough to have a lot of fun. There are some issues here and there, especially with desyncing and not being able to see where your friends are currently. These are being ironed out, and the game is still a lot of fun in multiplayer even with these issues though, especially since you can ping objects or places, helping you communicate with other players about where something should be built or what machine needs to be tinkered with. The game is currently in early access, and I could definitely feel it here and there. Some textures were oddly placed, the multiplayer, as I mentioned earlier, has some weird issues, and I've had the game entirely crash on me before. But honestly, those hiccups never really damaged my overall experience. Despite its current early access state, Satisfactory is absolutely worth the price of admission right now. It's got plenty of depth, a multiplayer that's functional, but admittedly not perfect, and there's a lot of damn fun to be had. At the time of writing this, I've put 35 hours into the game, and that's not counting the hours I put recording footage and continuing to play after I stopped recording. That 35 hours has been in a single world, and I haven't finished all the tiers there yet. There's a lot to do here. You could easily put hundreds of hours into Satisfactory, and I know it won't be long until I reach that mark myself. Satisfactory is more than the title says. It's not adequate, it's outstanding, and I can't wait to see what features they add next as the game continues to develop. If the game sounds appealing to you, I can't recommend it enough. Maybe I'll even revisit it for another video when it's finally finished. Thanks for joining me on this short little video before my next larger review. I've been covering pretty recent titles lately, but my next review is on a game from the 90s that, as far as I can tell, not many people are aware about. It's a weird little sequel to an absolute smash hit classic, and I'm excited to give it a look and see what it's all about. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.
Anybody who eats a raw potato is hot to you.
Yeah, sure.
Alright.